Keeper 2025 didn't just give us a twisted horror tale. It handed us one of the most unsettling creature mythologies in modern horror. These things lurking in the woods aren't just random monsters. They're connected to a centuries-old tragedy, a mysterious mother, and a cycle of sacrifice that Malcolm and Darren have been feeding into for far too long. Welcome back to your Nerdy Show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Today, we're diving deep into the full story behind these creatures, where they came from, how they're connected to the mother, why they fixated on Liz, and what their bizarre anatomy actually tells us about their place in this horrifying world. If you've been scratching your head trying to understand who the mother is, why the creatures look the way they do, or how Malcolm survived for centuries with their help, don't worry. We're breaking down everything. Origins, behavior, biology, theories, and the one major twist that redefines Liz's entire fate. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Cabin of Secrets. Let's start at the very beginning. 200 years before the main timeline, the cabin is nothing more than a patch of isolated farmland. Malcolm and Darren are teenagers patrolling their family's land when they stumble across a barefoot, pregnant woman who speaks a language that doesn't appear anywhere on Earth. The film doesn't translate a single word she says. Subtitles show gibberish symbols instead of actual text. That's the first hint. The mother is not human, or at least not entirely. She's disheveled, hurt, wandering alone, and the boys assume she's a cult member who has been trespassing. Malcolm shoots her in the leg, and instead of helping, they drag her into the pig pen and leave her to bleed. The detail a lot of people miss is that the moon turns blood red that night, and the clouds above the pen spiral almost like a vortex. It's the movie's first supernatural cue. Who are these creatures? The bloody origin story. During the night, the mother gives birth, not to a human child, but to several pale, hairless infants with elongated limbs and solid black eyes. Their fingers end in tiny claws. They are born already aware, as if their consciousness is inherited rather than developed. They crawl immediately, not in a chaotic newborn way, but with purpose. The mother tries to reach them, exhausted and terrified. Malcolm returns at dawn and shoots her point blank in the head. Her death is the single most important event in the film because it triggers everything that follows. The creatures don't attack the boys. They don't flee. They approach slowly, deliberately. And Malcolm later describes what he felt as understanding. It's not communication through words. It's instinctive, almost like a genetic memory passed down from their mother. This is where the bond between the creatures and their mother becomes clear. Their loyalty is absolute and immediate. They feel loss, but channel it into a pact. For every woman the boys deliver to them, they will prolong their lives. It's a twisted bargain, but it's also their way of surviving without their original parent.
Let's go back.
The mother of creatures. Now let's talk about their mother's head. Malcolm cuts it off and stores it in a jar filled with a golden, honey-like resin the creatures secrete. This resin preserves the head in a half-living state. The eyes remain open, the lips twitch. The film never says whether she's conscious, but the way the creatures present the jar later to Liz makes one thing clear. This head is sacred to them. It represents their entire lineage, their identity, their origin. This detail matters because the creatures don't see humans as food in a random, animalistic sense. They see women specifically as a replacement offering for their stolen mother, a tragic, horrifying cycle born from that initial violence.
Before.
Liz meets the creatures. Fast forward 2 centuries. Malcolm and Darren look 40, but are over 200 years old. That's the first function of the pack, biological preservation. They don't freeze in time, but the aging process nearly stops. Malcolm's vitality is a direct consequence of the creature's power, but this isn't a typical deal with the devil. It's more like biological symbiosis. The creatures give life, the boys give lives in return, which brings us to Liz, the key to the story. Malcolm chooses her because she resembles the original mother almost exactly. Same build, same facial structure, even the same mole placement. Malcolm assumes this resemblance will please the creatures and make the sacrifice more effective. He never imagines the resemblance might trigger something far deeper and entirely outside his control. Once Liz eats the drugged cake, laced with resin distilled from the mother's brain, she begins experiencing visions of the women sacrificed before her. But these aren't memories. They're projections from the creatures, almost like psychic testing. They're probing her identity. They're evaluating her connection to the mother. This is the first sign that the creatures don't want to kill Liz. They're trying to understand her. The creatures only reveal themselves fully in the basement, the same place where the pig pen once stood. The moment they emerge, everything changes. They surround her, yes, but not as predators. Their movements are gentle, cautious. They tilt their head the same way they did when they first saw Malcolm 2 centuries ago. Only this time, there's something else in their reaction. Recognition. One brings the jar containing their mother's preserved head closer to Liz. This shot is crucial. The head's eyes follow Liz. The mouth shifts. The creatures treat this moment like a reunion. Liz doesn't scream or fight. She goes still, almost calm, as if she feels the connection too. It's not possession. It's something more delicate. Gene memory, reincarnation, or an inherited soul. This is where we dive into the major theories fans have debated since release.
Let's go back.
Why the creatures spare Liz? The mother reborn theory. First theory, Liz is the literal reincarnation of the mother. This would explain the creature's immediate acceptance and the mother's head reacting to her presence. The resemblance isn't visual coincidence. It's destiny. The creatures didn't just recognize her face, they recognized her essence. Second theory, Liz becomes the new mother by choice, not biology. The drug from the cake opens her mind to the creature's hive-like consciousness. She doesn't inherit the mother's identity, but she steps into the role willingly. Her final black eyes support this reading, showing she absorbed the creature's psychic imprint. Third theory, the creatures imprinted on Liz the moment they sensed her fear and pain, the same emotions their original mother felt before death. Trauma became the bridge connecting them. Fourth theory, the mother was never human to begin with. Her biology was alien or supernatural. Liz happens to mirror that form. Whether the resemblance is coincidence or a hidden bloodline, the creatures see her as the next link in their lineage.
Anatomy of the creature. Now let's move to creature biology. The film gives only glimpses, but they tell us a lot. Their limbs are elongated and flexible, allowing them to bend and twist in unnatural ways. Their skin is pale and translucent, hinting at subterranean or nocturnal living. Their eyes are solid black. No whites, no iris, no pupil, suggesting extremely low-light vision or even non-visual sensing. Their movement is silent. Not quiet, silent. No footsteps, no breath, no scraping. This implies their bodies are lightweight and highly adapted to predation. Their intelligence is high enough for tool usage, ritual behavior, and emotional bonding. They recognize complex patterns, hold grudges, and enforce rules. When Darren tries to kill Liz, they slaughter him without hesitation. He broke the pact by attempting to harm the woman they consider sacred. Their resin secretion is perhaps the most fascinating biological trait. It preserves organic material indefinitely. It can influence human brain chemistry. It ages pact breakers to death. It likely holds their shared consciousness. This resin isn't just biological. It's symbolic. It's the physical manifestation of their connection to the mother. Is Liz the new hive? What the ending really means? Let's talk about their relationship to the land. The creatures never leave the property. They move through the woods, the basement walls, the roots of the old tree. It appears they're tied to this territory, possibly because their mother died here. The land becomes sacred ground, their nesting place, their entire universe. And that brings us to Malcolm's downfall. When Liz is accepted as the mother, the pact is instantly nullified. Malcolm's youth evaporates. Centuries of suppressed aging explode through his body, and he becomes a withered husk in minutes. The creatures drag him to a tree and string him upside down. This is poetic justice. He's placed where he murdered their original mother. Liz appears with black eyes, speaking with a calm authority that Malcolm never could. She declares it her cabin now. This is the real ending of Keeper. It's not about survival. It's about inheritance. Liz doesn't escape the creatures, she joins them, or they join her. Either way, the cycle is reborn under her control. What exactly is the mother? Here's the most complete evidence-based interpretation. The mother is a non-human being carrying offspring that were never meant to be born on human soil. She may have been fleeing, seeking shelter, performing a ritual, or even dying. Her children imprint on whoever reflects her essence. Liz, by design or fate, becomes their new anchor. The creatures don't want to dominate the world. They want a mother. They want continuity. They want to preserve the only bond they've ever known. Their violence comes from grief, hunger, and the conditions of the pact. Once Liz becomes their mother, the violence ends. They trail behind her in the final moments, like children following a parent. Our nerdy thoughts. Keeper isn't a monster movie. It's a tragic family story twisted by murder, power, and supernatural biology. The creatures aren't villains. Malcolm is. And Liz becomes the answer to every wound they've carried for 2 centuries. If you want a deeper dive into the resin, the hive mind theory, or the mother's origins, tell me in the comments. And if you want a full breakdown of how Liz's transformation works, we can do that next. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there. If someone hands you a suspicious cake, you already know what to do.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.